What's up, guys? So today we're going to be talking about the ins and outs of what to do in an interview and what to expect in a firefighter job interview. We're going to break down what to expect the day of. We're going to break down how to answer the questions properly, what questions we should be expecting in general, and also what questions you should be asking at the end of your interview to ensure that you are not wasting your time and also to be selling yourself just a little bit extra to make yourself stand out at the end. So, the thing that I see in most firefighter job interviews is candidates do not prepare enough. The biggest reason why candidates fail their interviews is because simply they're not giving the panel enough information. So just so you guys know, you have 5 minutes to answer about 6 to 7 questions. So that equals out to about 30 to 35 minutes, right? So candidates, when they're going into these interviews, they're only giving about 2 minutes an answer, some less, because they simply don't know what to do. And yeah, I totally get that. If I didn't know how to fill in an answer properly, you would just hear the question, say whatever answer comes to the top of your head, probably just answering the surface level, not actually answering what the question is really asking you. And yeah, that could take a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes if you really just push something out. But if you don't know what you're doing, at the end of the day, the outcome is not going to be favorable, right? So on the other side of that, if you are prepared and you do know what you're doing, the outcome of that interview can be life-changing, a job offer with your dream department. So to say that an interview is important to getting a job, it's extremely important. Whether you want to work at a fire department, whether you want to work at Walmart, nothing against Walmart. But all I'm saying is in order to get a job, you have to have an interview first, get an interview, and then pass the interview after. Right? So here's what to expect the day of your firefighter job interview. So a few do's and don'ts. Do number 1 is 110% read over the email that they send you and follow it to a T. And what I mean by that is there's a few things they might ask you to do. Documentation, bring in X amount of copies of this document, this document, this document, leave out this document, bring in this one, this one, this one. We want 2 copies of these ones, 1 copy of this, blah, blah, blah. The reason that they're doing this, it's not just because they need those copies, because frankly, they really don't. They have the internet. They have the copies in front of them. Maybe they might need a hard copy that they're just going to photocopy off of yours, which they can get. But they want to see, can you follow orders? And I can't tell you how many times I went to interviews and I saw candidates, I didn't see that part of the email. Oh, I didn't bring any of my docs. Oh, I brought 1 copy. Oh, you wanted 2 of the, and the excuse after excuse after excuse, and they're just canceling themselves out. Because if you can't follow orders in the fire service, that's a huge no-no. You need to be able to do that. Another way that they actually vet candidates by doing this is in some interviews, not all, they'll say, we want you to wear specific clothing. So it might be station wear, like station pants. It might be a blue or black t-shirt with no logo on it and steel toe boots on the shoes, on the feet. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to interviews like that and guys have simply been there in just jeans, a backwards baseball hat, a sweater, and just not following the orders given in the package that was given to you in your email. Canceling yourself out again. This is basic. Your clothing, pieces of paper, like you have to be able to do this. And most people think, it kind of goes to speak as well, as to people thinking, oh, the competition is so steep. I'm going to be walking in, they're going to be all killers. So, look, at the end of the day, there's going to be at least 5 to 10 people that are going to make little mistakes like that they should not have made, administrative mistakes and canceling themselves out. Oh, you have to have your BLS updated per year. Oh, your BLS expired literally 2 days ago. Sorry, man, go home. That happened with at least 2 to 3 people with my Ottawa interview. Go home, bro. Sorry. They could have been Ottawa firefighters by now, but they let their BLS, like little things like that. Don't let your stuff expire. Wear the proper clothing. Bring the proper documentation. I know that doesn't need to be said, but I'm gonna say it anyways because I know somebody watching this is gonna be saying, "Hey, Joe, damn, okay, cool. I'm gonna get all that in check right now." So please do that. Another one is, hey, listen, be on time. Be on time for your interview. One thing that you cannot overcome in a firefighter job interview, even if you do the best interview on the planet Earth, if you make the panel cry, You cannot be late. You cannot be even 5 minutes late for an interview. In a Vaughn interview that I was in, it wasn't actually in the group that I was with, but I heard the story. It was the group that was before me. There was a paramedic who came in. He had his paramedic pants on and everything, so out of uniform. I'm not sure about the documentation. He was like half hour late, and I'm sure he would have been a great candidate. He was a paramedic, didn't get the job. And I don't know what that could have come down to, but I would assume it would come down to an amalgamation of a bunch of things, but mainly the fact that he was late for a firefighter job interview. Let me ask you, if the tones go off and you decide to show up 20 minutes later because, I was watching TV or I was in bed sleeping, I didn't want to go to this call, is that an excuse? When the house is burning down and there's children that you need to pull out of that house? The answer is obvious. So again, I don't think I have to mention that, but I'm going to mention it anyway because I know some people will be late for this interview. It's better that you are 20, 30 minutes, an hour early in the parking lot across the street from where you have to interview, sitting there with a coffee in your hand, reading over material on your phone, whatever, listening to music, podcasts, getting yourself in the right headspace, rather than being late. Don't be late. So now, what is an interview really gonna look like? There's two types of interviews that I've been seeing as of late. Number one is, of course, what we all know of the panel interview. So you're sitting down at a desk like this, and across from you, you're gonna have chief, maybe a lieutenant, captain, HR, whatever, and they're just gonna be asking you questions. Like 6 or 7 questions, like I said before, asking you one by one by one, writing down the entire time. And for those ones, yeah, they're gonna be like paper, pen in hand. And in my Toronto interview, I knew it before going in because everyone told me, but it was different seeing it. Literally not one chief looked up at me as I was talking. And that's a good sign because they're writing down what, like the good information that you're saying. Because if you're not saying anything good, they would just look up and go, because they're not documenting what you're saying. If they're not documenting it, you're saying absolutely nothing of value. So if they're writing, that's good. And I even remember in my interview, I was trying to be a little more personal and I'm making a few jokes. Nobody looked up, nobody laughed. So do not expect that feedback and that validation from a panel of people that are sitting down, writing, trying to hit on every single point that you're saying, right? So that's one type of interview. The other type that I'm seeing is, I'm not sure what you can call it, but like a skills day type interview. So you go in, and this is what Vaughn had. Vaughn had an interview, like they did stations. So first station might have been an interview, like a panel interview. It was an HR and the chief. Second one was another interview. Third was you're gonna go tie ropes. Fourth is you're gonna go tie, are you gonna do like a hose drill? Or you're gonna do a tool assembly, whatever it might be. You're going outside to the hose tower and you're running a drill or you're driving the truck, whatever. Little things here. So with that type of interview, the big thing that people, the misconception is I have to do the skills the fastest. I have to know all of the knowledge the best. I have to do the driving of the truck perfectly. I ran over a cone. I think I ran over 2 cones, and even the training instructor, he's super cool. He, like, when I was leaving, he's like, "Hey Joe, take the cone with you. You broke our stuff." But he was doing it in a, like, in a funny way. He wasn't being rude about it, because at the end of the day, what this type of interview is designed to do, and I think it's smart, is they're designed to get to know you. Because when you're in front of a panel interview, like, are they really getting to know who you are? These could be answers that, like, are you displaying the best version of yourself? Kind of like Instagram, right? You have like 10 pictures on Instagram, your highlight reel, but they don't see, when you're up in the morning, you don't want to go to the gym. They don't see when you're tired and you and your wife are fighting. But they see when you and your wife are at the wedding. "Hey, how are you, honey?" They see your body because you're ripped and you're showing it in the mirror. They see the end result in your highlights, but they don't see the real authentic you. When you're there for an entire day with a skills day, they get to see the entire you, because a lot of guys break, a lot of guys crack, a lot of guys are tired, a lot of guys, they get, and the interview people, they do a great job because they make you feel relaxed and calm, almost to the point where you're like, okay, so this is just so chill, this is chill. And they want to see, when everyone gets chill, who do they become? Are they rude? Are they happy? Do they fight adversity well? Do they overcome it? Do they ask for help? Do they look for help? Is it ego-based? "No, I can do it. Like, leave me. I know I'm good. They want to see, are you trainable? Are you teachable? Because the people that are going to be running these stations, they're going to be training instructors. They're going to be people that are going to be working with you for the next 3 months if you do get hired in your recruit class. So they want to see, can John be teachable? Does he have a big ego, or is he willing to learn? Make sense? But now, if we go back to the panel interview, and by the way, those skills days, they're gonna have aspects of panel interviews within them as well. Like there's going to be one or two stations where there's going to be a chief in HR, like I mentioned. So there's going to be an aspect of a panel interview within it. Not as intense, but still there's going to be sections where they're asking you questions about your past and why you want to be a firefighter, etc. So if we go break down what an interview and interview questions are, essentially the way to pass a firefighter job interview is you have to do what I call the fine dance or the weave or whatever you want to call it. So what that means is essentially this. You have to be able to do two things and intertwine them. Number one, you have to be able to say what they want you to say. So their HR is going to have a list of things they need you to hit upon, the quote unquote point system. X, Y, and Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. Did John say this, and this? Cool, he did, fantastic. That's number one. But number two, they want to still get to know you. So they want to hear who you are, and they want to hear about your personality and your past, and they want to see who you are as a candidate. So that's number two, but you can't be doing one or the other and only that. You have to be able to do both of them and intertwine them. If you just do, I'm going to say the points, you sound like an AI robot. Obviously, they don't want to hire that. If you go the path that most people do, they have no point system. They don't know what they're saying. They're just speaking from the heart, so to speak. That's what I call the tree. So they become this one branch of the tree, then they go off into another branch, into another branch, to another branch, another branch, another branch. And before they know it, they're at 8 minutes, or maybe a bit less, like 6 minutes for a 5-minute answer. But they said nothing of value. My dad was a firefighter. I want to help the community. It's the best job in the world. Like all of this stuff that is, yes, good, but you have to have some sort of a direction with that. You can't be blabbering the whole time. You're not going to get hired. But if you can take the correct points while knowing how to talk and speak correctly from the heart, give just enough and nothing more, and you can intertwine those two things, that right there is how you pass a firefighter job interview. Full stop. So let's break it down now. The first 3 questions that most fire departments will ask are what I call the handshake question. So the handshake, I get to know you, you get to know me, boom. They want to see, can we get to know this guy? Do we feel like we got to know this guy by the end of his interview? Do we feel like he knew about us in this interview? Or is he saying the same interview to Mississauga, to Toronto, to Vaughan, to Burlington? Is he just throwing this around everywhere, shooting his shot? Kind of like if you're going to talk to a girl at the bar or wherever at the gym, is this guy hitting on me and then also her and then also her and also her? Or is he just talking to me? That's what they want to see here. As silly as an example as that is, that's just to break it down so you can understand it a little bit better. So the handshake questions. Number 1, why do you want to be a firefighter? Pretty simple, right? But the thing is, with this question, they're not really asking, why do you want to be a firefighter? Because my dad was, it's the best job in the world, my uncle was in the family. No, they want to essentially know, does this person know what the job of a firefighter entails, and can you relate to that? So with that, you have to go down and give 5 specific reasons as to what the fire department and what firefighters do on a daily basis. Not just a firefighter though, but a recruit firefighter. And also talking about the culture of the fire department as well. And with each one of those, if you can relate to each one with a little bit from your past, not digging too deep into it, because you're gonna dig deeper into them in the storytelling questions, which we'll talk about in a second, but just briefly skimming across how you can relate to them. The first time in your life when there was the incipient stage that you can relate to all 5 of those. That's how you pass this question. You have to let them know that you know the job, you relate to the job, and that's why you want to be here. Number 2, why should we hire you? So this right here, I've been talking on my Instagram for the past 2 years. This is a resume review. However, stop for 1 second. I don't want you to just go and read your resume to them. Reason being is because they have your resume in front of them. You emailed it to them. They've printed it out. Maybe you gave them a copy today. They can see that. So they have their resume, they have your resume in front of them, but what else do they have in front of them? You. So it's your job here to bring it to life. I tell all my clients, it's like if you go to a Kendrick Lamar concert, and maybe some people like to hear Kendrick Lamar rap the whole verse of, DNA, just straight how it is, boom. But if Kendrick were to go there and he does like a total separate verse or like an extra verse, or he changes the verse a little bit with different cadence, different flow, I personally, as a hip hop lover, I would love to see Kendrick do that because he's bringing it to life. And that's why I'm at the concert right now. If not, I can go on my Apple Music and just download his songs and see exactly DNA like I've heard it for the past like 5 years of my life more. What you have to do is bring each section of your resume to life. Education, volunteer, work experience, extra courses. Take each one of those sections there. Pick a highlight from each one. The best job, the best work experience, the best volunteer, education, extra course. Pick the highlight and talk about that. Break it down properly to talk about it. And there is a proper way onto how to do that. Because again, you don't want to go down the tree and go and just saying, well, because of this work experience, because X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. Then you're going to start going off for 5 minutes alone just on your work experience or the volunteer or the extra courses. You have to have a direction there that you're going to follow to let them know. And again, human psychology, what it was and how it's going to benefit their fire departments. And every interaction with humans, whether you're talking to a girl, again, whether you're talking to a job in an interview, whether you're talking to a person at a cashier, there's a transaction happening. What can you do for me? Oh, you give me the money. What can I do for you? Okay, I give you the product that you're trying to buy. So they want to see mutually, who are you? How are you going to benefit us? Question number 3, this right here is going to be simple. Why do you want to work for us, for our department? So again, the other side of the handshake. Does this person know us? Do they know anything about us? Or are they saying the same interview to Mississauga that they're saying to Toronto? So pretty simple. Break it down into 2 sections. Number 1, the city. So let's assume it's the city of Toronto. You want to break it down and talk about the parts of the city of Toronto based on the mission statement, and break that down into 3 separate parts and talk about each one of those. After you do that, what I want you to do, and by the way, this is where they're obviously going to see, if you're interviewing with Mississauga and you say, like, you know what, the structures in Mississauga are the CN Tower, the Rogers Center, bro, you have to be able to at least go online and find a little bit of research on the specific city that you're interviewing with. Second section is you're gonna go and talk about the department now, specific to them. And super simple. Go online, find their annual report. They're all for free. Go on there and see all the different facts about their department. You wanna highlight specific ones within there so they know that you did the research. So they know you're not giving this interview to Toronto as Mississauga or Burlington or Vaughan, so they know that you got to know them. Guys, make them feel special. Plain and simple. After that, you want to go and do what's called a 365 review, and then after that, close it off with the motto review. Very important. This keeps them knowing that you stay relevant within the city, within the fire department as well. At the end, take their motto and relate to that. If you're not from the city, all good. Not everyone is from Toronto. That's all good. So try your best to have ties. If you have any ties, maybe you played sports in the city, maybe you had family members from the city, maybe you lived there for a short time, talk about that. If you can't relate to it at all, simply talk about the motto of the city: courage, compassion, service, and relate to it. Talk about your volunteerism, talk about past work experience, talk about relationships, friendships, talk about whatever you can to relate to that. Sum it up, make it sound nice at the end. Boom. Storytelling questions are next. This is where I believe fire departments make their decisions as to who they're actually going to hire. These are huge. Plain and simple. This is where they're going to ask questions about conflict, past conflict. Tell us about a time you had conflict in the workplace. They're going to ask about mental health. Tell us about a time that you went through a stressful period in your life, how you fought back, how you handled it. They're going to ask you questions about diversity. Tell us about a time that you went through a diverse situation in your past. How did you overcome the challenge? Tell us about a time you made a mistake. All of these types of things. All conflict is going to be in your interview for sure. Mental health in your interview for sure. Diversity in your interview for sure. And so that right there's 3 questions. That's half of your interview right there. That's never in 2025 going to 2026. Those are a lock in your interview. Mix that with 1 or 2 of the handshake questions. Why firefighter maybe, and then say, why do you want to work for us? Now you're at 5 questions, and maybe you're going to have an interview with 6 or 7. You're pretty much 90 to 80% there to finishing it off. So in order to answer these storytelling questions properly, you can go down, and I honestly don't care. Use the STAR method if you want. Use the PAR method if you want. That's all good as long as you have some structure with them. However, just thinking you're going to use the STAR method and say, well, I'm going to break it down, blah, 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 that's cool. But what is going to be inside of your STAR method. That's the unlock here. Because yeah, you can have the STAR method, and I teach my clients not the STAR method, but a separate method for them to follow. So if they do get lost in an interview, they can always rely and fall back on this, and I train them hard on this. However, what is inside of it? What are you talking about in the problem? What are you talking about with the conflict? Is there a conflict? What are you talking about when you talk about the task that you had to do? How are you breaking that down? How are you breaking down the actions and the problem, what you learned? Because at the end of the day, the storytelling questions have to do this. You have to show them that you started off at point A in your situation, in your story, and you ended off at point B, and you grew along the way. It's kind of like when you're watching a TV show or a movie and they talk about a character's arc. There can't be a linear arc within a character. If there is, that means the character in the show didn't grow. So maybe bad example, but I know we've all probably seen Breaking Bad. Walter White started off as the timid school teacher, underachiever in his life at the beginning, at the first season. Boom, as it goes on and on and on, we see him become Heisenberg. I understand negative connotation. He was like, he was selling, all the bad stuff. However, his character did evolve and it did grow all the way into the final episode. Now, you want to do this, but in a positive way, obviously, right? But that's just an example as to how you need to be growing and progressing in your stories, in your interview, to show them that you start off as one person, but you're willing to grow and learn to become a separate person, another person. And the reason they're asking these questions is because they want to see your personal growth, and they want to see how are you going to handle similar situations if you work for our fire department. Are you going to crumble? Are you going to fall? Or you made a mistake? Does he own up to it? Does he fix it? Does he help others learn from it? Does he go and do his own personal research? Does he grow from this and evolve? Or does he hide away? Does he shy away? Does he blame it on someone else? Double down on a lie? Where's his emotional maturity at? They want to see all of these things intertwining, playing all at once, choosing the correct stories, knowing the questions ahead of time, knowing how the HR is going to be grading all of these, knowing how to intertwine yourself, displaying high levels of character throughout, not just with the story. Choose the correct ones. Do not choose the incorrect ones. A lot of people do not know how to have the distinction between those. And also displaying the correct character throughout. They are not hiring firefighters these days based on who could run the chainsaw the best, who's the biggest and strongest. In all my recruit classes, there were small dudes. I'm not tall myself, but there was small dudes in the classes, but and a lot of them couldn't run any tools at all. They had no idea what they were doing. They couldn't hit a hydrant, but they were good people, great people. And that's why they were hired. Caveat there is if you are a great person, but you don't know how to display that properly in an interview, that can be your Achilles heel as well, because there's tons of great people that are genuinely like God-fearing, good individuals, but they don't know how to present themselves in an interview properly. So you have to be able to do that as well. Also, questions that they could ask are future-based. So what would you do if? Now, the reason I see them asking these questions is because, and a big one that I've been seeing them ask is, they used to ask, tell us about a time that you witnessed workplace harassment and how you handled it. Now, if I ask you guys, how many times have you witnessed workplace harassment in 2025? Some people, they work at construction sites and they say, yeah, I see it all the time. But most people like that work at a 9 to 5, they're like, yeah, I've never seen that. Right? So it makes sense that they're not going to be asking it in past tense. So they ask it in the future. What would you do if? You're essentially handling it in the exact same way with the exact same points that you're going to say, just placing it in the future. That's all you're doing in these types of situations. The other type of question that they used to ask but is outdated, I have not seen them ask this, is the define question. So define integrity, define courage, define compassion, define empathy. This is like a 2018 outdated kind of thing. Don't worry about this. They want to more so seek, can he tell a story about this? Because obviously that's how they get to know you better. The last types of questions that I see them ask are firefighting-based knowledge. So a good one could be something like this. What are the 3 lines of defense? And put them in order. Now, okay, so I'll give you guys a breakdown. I'll actually tell you exactly how to answer this. Most guys, what they do at first is they'll say, okay, 3 lines of defense. They'll say maybe suppression, maybe they'll say, education and prevention. Okay, cool. So they get them right. They stumble through, they get them right. Then they'll put them in a random order. Maybe they know what order, and they'll say, okay, prevention, then education, then suppression. Okay, cool. That's great. Then they stop talking. You have another, 4.5 minutes here. Here's how you answer that properly. You answer them their question first. 3 lines of defense are suppression, are education, are prevention. The order I will put them in is going to be prevention, education, and suppression. The first 2 could be interchangeable because those are preventative measures. Those are proactive ways of making sure fires do not begin in the first place. Suppression, obviously, that's why the fire department exists, because things slip through the cracks. There's still going to be emergencies. There's still going to be car accidents. There's still going to be fires. The emergencies will happen, right? So that's why. But we want to prevent them before they do happen to begin with. Then we talk about the FPPA, and we relate it to how the FPPA states that this is what we want to do. When any fire department is created in anywhere in Ontario, they have to have some sort of prevention, they have to have some sort of education plan in place and program in place, and they also have to have some sort of suppression. They can't just have a new city without a fire department and with those in line. Then you can talk about how different fire departments require different types of needs. So let's assume you're interviewing in Iqaluit, right? They're gonna need ice rescue. They're gonna need water rescue. They're gonna need all of that stuff, and they're probably gonna train very, very hard with their firefighters in terms of those rescues. Now, let's assume you're in, I don't know, like Miami. Are you really gonna need ice rescue in Miami? Are you really gonna need to go and go as hard with those? No. So specific needs to specific departments wherever they are. If people are interviewing in the States, if people are interviewing in Canada. Right? And then what you could also do is say, hey, so just based on what I've been seeing, might be more training needs, higher training needs to push forward with the recruits, because there's going to be less fires and emergencies to go to. This is a blessing in disguise because, you don't have to go to as many fires. These programs are working. They're pushing their candidates. They're pushing the cities to be better, and it's working. So less fires, but it means there's going to be more training. If there's more training, you let them know first and foremost, I am excited to train. I'm a rookie. I can't wait to train. Every shift, I want to train. I want to get better. I want to get better from my first day to my next day, all through my first year, all through my probationary, all through it. And I can't wait to start training because that's why I'm here. Boom. You break that down to 5 minutes. That's how you answer that question properly. You don't just say what it is and move on. You're not going to get hired that way. Answer it the correct way every single time. Final part I want to touch upon here is what are the proper questions to ask in a firefighter job interview at the end if they say, hey, do you have any questions for us? So first, the wrong questions to ask are anything personal. Do not go down the path of saying, hey, because I know a lot of people do this. They'll say, hey, what is the most exciting call you've ever been on, chief or lieutenant or whoever, captain? Now, listen. I know a lot of your firefighter friends have told you to do this, and it's going to make you stand out. It's going to make you seem like you really care about the fire department. Your question was so unique. First of all, it's not unique because everyone and their grandmother has been telling them, ask that type of question. Everyone's doing it now. Do not do it. It's not going to make you stand out. It's just going to make you fall into the bunch. Number 2, think about it logically. This is your interview. They're trying to get to know you. They're not here saying, hey, let's reciprocate, let's get to know us personally as the panel. That's why you're here. So think about it as well in terms of if they don't know you and they've been a firefighter for say 20, 30 years, do you think they're just gonna wanna tell a random guy off the street his biggest call? Maybe some of these calls involve some PTSD. Maybe some of these calls are not appropriate to talk about in a firefighter job interview. Maybe he doesn't want to tell you because these are personal calls in his life that he shares with his friends, with his family, with his crew. And now some random person here is asking him about that to firefighters and to anyone really. These are personal questions. So we have to read the room, we have to calibrate properly, not ask deep personal questions that we think are gonna make us stand out, which are not gonna make you stand out in the first place. However, the correct questions to ask in a firefighter job interview are questions where you're keeping it in the room. Again, read the room. You're in an interview. Only ask questions that are going to be revolved around the interview. So a good question could be, when could I be expecting to hear back? Great. Maybe how many candidates are you guys hiring this round? Great. Questions like that. So another question you could ask is, hey, so is there anything that you as the panel feel like I've left off the table that I can better clarify for you to better my candidacy? So I remember I asked this in my Toronto interview and the chief literally said to me, he goes, yeah, let's go back to question number 3, the conflict one. So let's assume that the situation was not mitigated. What would you do? And if you know how to answer it properly, this is a good prompt for them to give you so you can go back and now collect these points that you forgot because you were nervous. However, for my case, I didn't know how to properly collect those points back in the day. So I just kind of stood there and I was like, yeah, I would like tell someone. I don't know what I said. I didn't get that job with Toronto because I wasn't prepared properly. But my point is, if there's something you forgot, maybe they'll be nice enough to prompt you to say, hey, let's go back here. Because at the end of the day, guys, they want to hire you. They're doing interviews like every single day. They want to find their core group of guys this round that they can hire. The quicker, the better. They want to hire you. So yeah, they will prompt you, if they're nice, to help you along the way. The other type of question you could ask is no question at all. So genuinely, if you don't have a question at the end of your firefighter interview, and if perhaps you maybe had some and they answered it for you before you got to the end, you could let them know, honestly, I don't have any questions for you. You guys answered it for me before. Do not feel like you have to ask a question. Do not feel like you have to force out a question. Do not feel like that's going to carry you over the edge, because at the end of the day, the 30 to 35 minute interview, preparing for your interview ahead of time with a coach, with someone who knows how to interview properly, studying every single day, multiple times a day, 3 to 6 months in advance for your interview, coming up with the correct stories, learning how to do the fine dance. That right there is going to help you pass your interview. I see what people asking the wrong questions at the end because they're trying to compensate because their interview wasn't good enough and they never get the job at the end of the day. So with that being said, ask a question if it's in the room, and if you have no question, it's all good. Don't feel pressured like you have to answer a question. That sums it up right there. I hope this video helps you better understand of what you're gonna be walking into on interview day for whatever fire department you're gonna be interviewing in the next year. Now, if you want help passing your firefighter job interview, simply go on my Instagram, DM me the word fire. I have an entire program geared towards helping aspiring firefighters like yourself land more firefighting job interviews and how to pass their firefighting job interview. So you don't have to take the long and grueling path. I'm sure you've heard the nightmares of people for 5 to 10 years of trying to get hired. DM me the word fire, and for a good fit, we could potentially work together. Thanks, guys.